Welcome to Bloodbath and Beyond. Today we review Bereavement. There are some evils so unspeakable, they'll scar you forever.
Written and directed by Stevan Mena, starring Michael Biehn, Alexandra Daddario, Spencer List, and Brett Rickaby. This movie's about Allison, a girl who's moving in with her uncle after her parents died unexpectedly. Unfortunately, this new town has a dark secret. There's a serial killer named Graham Sutter who is abducting and killing women, but he also has an accomplice, a young boy that he abducted 5 years prior, named Martin, that helps him clean the blood off the walls after he's done his bidding. This is actually a recommendation from our top donator over on Patreon. Y'all know his name. Deke, coming with that hotness. This is one that I had thought about reviewing for quite a while because this is actually the middle of a franchise, the Malevolence series. But thankfully, this is number 2, which happens to be a prequel, so we haven't missed anything. So what do we like? I'm gonna have to get this out of the way because it's gonna stay on my mind the entire time. Alexandra Daddario is a showstopper in this movie.
She's a showstopper in every single movie.
That's true. Also in True Detective. Sometimes there's just these movies that the main lead is just so distractingly hot. Every single scene that Daddario is in, you're just staring at her.
She's got those piercing blue eyes.
But honestly, not only is she a stunner, she did a pretty good job as well because she just plays like a normal girl trying to readjust to her new life.
She plays a very good innocent character while also having like strong, caring tendencies.
The concept of this serial killer just like abducting girls, torturing them, and potentially sacrificing them to some deity or like cleansing of sins or something to do with like his father. It's kind of run of the mill. However, I liked our killer. He goes on these like kind of rants as to why he's doing things. As an audience member, you're never gonna get behind what he's dealing with unless you're a fucking lunatic as well. So I wouldn't imagine somebody in their barn cutting up girls watching us on their iPad or some shit, but that'd be weird. But he did a great job just being this strange character and someone that like is so off the rails that you're like, well, who knows what he's gonna do.
A lot of this film really comes down to not just the character himself, but the surrounding settings. You can get an idea of what Graham Sutter was going through, having his like family franchise of this like meat slaughterhouse just like run down, and it makes you think like, okay, he's either gonna do this for his father or he's maybe doing it for revitalizing the slaughterhouse, because maybe if he sacrifices or cleanses himself, then good things will happen. We've seen it in other films like Rites of Spring where, you know, you're just in this like rundown area where people are just trying to make sacrifices for their own personal gain. I also really liked the setting of this film. It's grungy. The slaughterhouse feel is real.
And you throw in a creepy little kid and shit just gets weirder because you got this kid, Martin. He has no feelings. He can't feel pain. So he'll get cut and he's just emotionless. And so as each girl is brought to this like disgusting basement that is essentially their tomb, they're begging and pleading with Martin to help them, and you can't tell if he's going to help them or not because he's just got that stone face.
I was really impressed with Stevan Mena because he wore many hats. He was the writer and director, but also did the music. He did a good job with the cinematography. He did a great job tying it in with the music, and it just brings it back to feeling how grungy and dirty the whole setting is.
We also can't forget to mention Michael Biehn. He plays the overly aggressive uncle that's shutting down poor William's attempts to get with Daddario.
At least Billy got to cop a feel.
Yeah, he went boob first. That's 100%. They were like having a really emotional conversation. Like, my parents died. Same. Okay, I'm gonna grab this boob now. I get it, man. I get it.
Oh, Billy.
Now, what didn't we like? We've been saying this a lot these days, but I think the pacing was off for this. This is a little bit longer, but the biggest issue is you know that Daddario is going to get abducted. If it wasn't on the poster, it's very evident. This guy abducts beautiful women, and in walks Daddario. And she happens to run by his damn lot every day. Easy pickings. That makes me sound like a serial killer. I swear I'm not. And if she ran by, well, I would creep out the window like the boy. I wouldn't abduct her.
Yeah, there was definitely something off with the pacing. I don't know if it was because we didn't get a lot of abductions. When Graham would abduct people, you'd think that it would be more frequent than us focusing on one girl in the beginning who we don't actually know. Like, she seemed more significant than Allison's character when it came to being abducted. She put up a bit more of a fight. She related more with Martin. And I thought that was really odd considering that Allison very much resembles Martin's mother, so it potentially could have like triggered an emotion.
I was gonna say the exact same thing. There's no way that she looked like the mother by accident. But it doesn't save from the fact that it takes about an hour and 10 minutes before Allison actually is in the meat plant.
And because of that, our final act felt rushed. It didn't give you enough time to like actually take in and digest what was going on the screen. We had a really good final act. It's just bang, 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 and we're done. If you're gonna make a slow burn, then you need to have that like really good payoff. This payoff was fine, and it made sense being that this is a prequel, but still, it was kind of disappointing.
I was gonna say exactly that.
This is kind of a nitpicky plot point, but if people are constantly getting abducted in this small town
for 5+ years.
Yeah, Allison gets there. Her aunt and uncle should just be like, you can't run by yourself. Too many abductions happen in this town. When she meets like Billy, he's like, yo, like it's a very small town. Everyone knows everything. Don't you know about our dark past or the history? That is just completely overlooked. And it needs to be a focus because what Graham is doing shouldn't be flying under the radar.
And I'm no small town sheriff, but if somebody's driving around in the fucking Joyride or creeper van, his dad was recently killed, there's bills to pay, the guy's a little nutty, all fingers should be pointed at fucking Sutter. Like, this is a no-brainer to me. I know that horror movie logic, we need to just kind of forgive some things, but give me a fucking break. Now it's time for our final thoughts and ratings. This was a pretty solid film and definitely a great origin story for a potential slasher franchise, which we know exists. It was well shot, it was reasonably acted, but the killer was just very creepy. He did a great job. The setting felt really dingy, and the fact that he had this little like kid accomplice and who can't feel pain, this is building up a pretty solid killer here. And then you throw Daddario on there, that's the icing on the cake. It's pretty solid. However, I didn't feel this did anything different. Yes, it's good, but I don't think that it really pushed the bar in any aspect. It's a storyline that we've seen before, and I also felt like it dragged out a bit, but like it's not a bad movie, and I would recommend it, and I can't wait to see the rest of the series. But for this entry, I'm gonna give this 2.5 pillow sandwiches out of 5.
I need a pillow sandwich.
Jumping into this franchise with the second film really makes me want to watch the first and potentially the third one. I definitely want to see the first film because I want to see what happens after this film takes place. I like this story, even though we've seen it before, I still found myself engaged, especially because the setting was really cool and we had a different kind of killer in Sutter. For being more of a crime thriller style of film, the kills really hit home. Anytime Sutter would do something to one of the victims, you would actually be taken back because the sound effects were good and it looked realistic. However, I just didn't enjoy the payoff. It should have just been one grand finale, and I think that would have been a lot better than what we actually saw. So with that being said, I'm gonna give this film 4 sexy mechanics out of 5.
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below with your thoughts on the film if you've seen it. If you haven't and you do want to check it out, there are links in the description where you can find it. And if you want the opportunity to recommend a movie for us to review, check out the Patreon. Link is also in the description. If this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel to stay updated with everything Bloodbath and beyond.